everyone, and welcome to the live Who Reviews the Reviewer Season 4 finale. I'm Captain Logan, and tonight is a really exciting night because we have both of our finalists with us, and I'm going to go ahead and start off just by introducing them, and then we'll get into the, and then we'll introduce the panel, and we'll start looking at the videos and get into the deliberations. First of all, it's the man who buried Mr. Goodplot alive. It's ThatMattKid.
Woo! This mask is really hot.
He's committed. And it's the man, Mr. Goodplot, and it's the man who got buried alive by ThatMattKid. It's Mr. Goodplot.
Yes, it's all coming together. I'm finally at the climax of this season. Just like any villain.
Here come the judges. First of all, it's the vast and ominous superhero enthusiast.
Hey.
And king of the underworld, it's Aaron Dicer.
Look, guys, I'm periscoping.
And master of time and space, it's Lance Fusion.
Coming to you live in my classy recliner instead of my classy bed.
But everything about you is classy, Lance. And finally, bringer of hope, hugs, and Haagen-Dazs, it's the real Manos.
Hey folks, how you doing? In honor of today's special episode, I decided to dress up like Teenage Me from 1988.
Well, Manos, the very last time you were on a video with us, you dressed up as 1997 version of yourself. How far back are we going to go with this?
Well, that's about as far, because I can't fit into my 70s clothes.
And that's not because he gained weight. That's because he was a kid back then.
Well, technically, if you want to look at it, I did gain weight in height.
Yeah, in like the way everybody does when they're growing. Anyway,
yeah.
Hi folks, good to see you. If you're watching live, thanks for being here. If you are watching after the fact, thanks for that as well. We are super stoked. We're finally at the end of this thing. So Who Reviews the Reviewer Season 4? We began with 12 contestants, absolutely nuts. 12 really great reviewers. We had a really fantastic year all the way around, and we are finally all the way down to Mr. Goodplot and ThatMattKid. And we're going to talk to them a little bit in here in just a second. We've got 2 pilots to watch tonight, and that was the challenge for this time, was make your series pilot, because one of the prizes this year is getting a 6-episode commitment for a miniseries here on Geekvolution for a review series. And so these guys have each made a pilot, and we get to play network executives tonight, and we get to choose from one of those 2 pilots to go to series. It's going to be really exciting. So one of these guys is going to get their series made on the channel, or rather, I'm going to ask them to actually make it, and then I'm going to post it for them. And then
you win more work.
Yeah, and then that person will also, of course, be crowned champion and win the $500 grand prize. Before we start talking with our contestants, we're going to hear a pre-recorded video from Connor Nielsen, who was not able to get his video up in time, so I wanted to go ahead and play it tonight. And he was our third runner-up, and he got voted off last time. So let's hear a little bit from Connor. Here we go. Can everybody see that?
Looking good, Alex.
Are you copying me, Justin?
Yes.
Are we supposed to be seeing anything right now?
I'm not sure.
I thought you knew.
Are you guys not seeing the video I'm playing?
No.
Not going a full minute before you told me that. absolutely fantastic.
I was too enthralled with me and Justin mimicking each other. I thought we were just waiting.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Okay, so you guys aren't seeing this at all?
No.
Okay. Well, that's just great, you guys. All right. Well, I guess I'm gonna have to do the screen share thing then. So give me just a minute to bring up the video. Oh boy, that's just great. And
You always pretend to be Connor and say things you think he would say if he was saying goodbye.
I hate Captain Logan. He's a jerk face. I'm never gonna make videos with him.
That's classy.
Forget that. Forget that guy.
Do it again. This time in iambic pentameter.
Ooh.
All right. Well, I'm working on screen share, so give me just a second for that. Oh boy, that's just.
Now stay tuned for a word from our sponsors.
We'll just talk amongst ourselves.
Yep. I'll just go through my
I
mail
saw
here.
Connor. I saw him.
Oh, there he is.
There he is.
Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yes, I see that.
Yes, we can.
That's exciting. Okay. Well, if you guys start hearing echoing and stuff when I play this, just mute your microphones. But we should be okay. Anyway, okay. Sorry, everybody live, and I blame it on my panel for not telling me they couldn't see what I was playing. All right, here we go.
Oh, sure. Blame us.
Here we go.
I don't know how the mic works.
Absolutely struggling in the top 3%. He's not going on, and he's going to have no trouble moving forward. I think he'll.
Well, guys, Connor here to say goodbye. It is the end of the line for me as I've just gotten voted out, and I expected to be a little bit more disappointed and sad or angry or strong feeling because I'm not really at all. I'm doing all right. I'm okay. I ultimately learned a lot about what I wanted to do and a lot about reviewing on Who Reviews the Reviewers. I really got a sense of, especially on, I learned the most in that last challenge. I really did. And that's ultimately the one where I made the most mistakes. But, everything turned out all right, I feel. I feel like I did learn quite a lot. I learned that, when I'm still doing kind of a panel discussion, it's still a review, and I need to give my opinions across whether or not I am, first and foremost, the important thing is to get your opinion across in a review style, as opposed to just letting yourself get walked over in this great conversation. Less conversational, more reviewy, but still have a respectable conversation element. But other things like my audio, the first thing I learned about lighting is something, and placement of the camera are things I still need to grow in, but I'm now aware of them and I'm trying to fix these things. I feel like I have learned and I've progressed in this journey, and I'm very, very honored to have had the opportunity, and I'm just ultimately happy that I even had the opportunity. I have no right to be upset, and I made it to the final 3. That's great. I can join the Legions of Zanzibar and Rockman LP and whoever you count as 3rd place on season 1. But I'm honored by the opportunity, and I am going to now announce what my next big thing is on my channel. I'm going to be doing a hopefully weekly analysis series on the entirety of the American Film Institute's top 100 films of all time. American films of all time, starting with Ben-Hur, and then Toy Story, Yankee Doodle Dandy, Blade Runner, and then all the way up to stuff like Casablanca, The Godfather, and Citizen Kane. So I'm very excited about that. I've already gotten work done on that, and I'll be uploading them soon. So coming soon, Connor Nielsen presents an analysis series of the American Film Institute's Top 100. Thank you so much for all of your watching, and it's been a great time.
Okay, so you guys did see that, right? And
Yeah.
actually
No, I
watching.
didn't see any of it.
Oh, okay.
What?
Oh, well, then what were you reacting to, Lance? The moment he happened to mention the season where you won. I don't know. I'm suspicious about that.
All right, I'm
anyway,
a liar.
be sure to check out Connor Nielsen's channel. He told me about that project a couple weeks ago, and I was envious. I was like, oh, that sounds like fun. I kind of want to do that too. That's a really cool idea, so I'm excited to see that. And if you watch the this weekend, you will see Connor on an episode that he and I shot last week on Why the Last Man. Brought Connor on to review that with me. So he's already doing stuff with us, and he's been a fantastic contestant, and I think he's watching right now. So hi, Connor, and thanks a bunch for all of your contributions to the show and holding it out all the way toward the end. And sorry to make it to the end, but obviously you got all kinds of awesome stuff going on, and we're gonna see you a lot. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk a little bit with our finalists. Hi, finalists.
Hi.
Hi.
Hey Matt, you don't have to wear that mask the whole time. Like if you get heat stroke, then
Oh, thank God. It's so hard.
Where did Matt come from? I thought Batman was here.
No, I'm not saying I'm Batman, but no one's ever seen me and him in the same room, so.
Until now.
wow,
Yeah,
fusion.
yeah.
By the way, Brandon's here.
Hi.
Brandon wanted to watch the finale, and he wanted to watch it from the studio. So anyway,
My invite? Oh my.
yeah, here's the person that I invited. Anyway, so I want to talk to you guys for a minute about just your overall experience in the contest. So I'm going to ask you guys a couple questions, and we'll just go to each of you. And Matt, you can answer first, and then we'll hear from GoodPlot. Matt, the first thing I want to ask you guys is, did you expect to get this far? And did you expect that you would be sitting across from the contestant you're sitting across from now?
No. I as soon as I saw the the who's getting into the contest video, I did I think what everyone did and checked out all the competition. And when I saw Connor's bookbinding review, I was like, that guy, he's going places. And all these, and when I saw GoodPlot's review and how funny it was, I thought I had a chance to make it decently far, but I never thought I would actually be like in the top 3, let alone the top 2.
What about you, Mr. GoodPlot?
Well, did I think I could get this far? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. Mm-hmm. That's the first question.
Well, honestly, every single time, every single round, I was probably like more than 50% sure. Like, yeah, I'm probably going to leave. I always had that mindset of, yeah, I'm probably going to go this round. Well, I had a great time. Time to work on my saying goodbye video, but I never had that chance thanks to you. Never had a chance to put together the say goodbye video. I mean, I had it all planned out, but anyway.
I'm disappointed you haven't got to do that.
You're like, how dare you?
I'm sorry I screwed up your goodbye video. I apologize.
No, you've been like pulling for me every single time. I'm like, what is he doing?
It is my plot against you.
Yes.
GoodPlot, did you think Matt would be the other person in the finale?
Ever since his first review in the competition, I thought, like, oh, he's gonna go all the way probably. Like, I'm gonna be the one that's probably gonna leave like in the 4th or maybe 3rd round and stuff like that. But no, I'm right here with him, right there, next to me.
I think this matchup is really interesting to me because you guys have worked together twice, and you guys worked together on the Star Trek trilogy video, and as I alluded to earlier, Matt buries GoodPlot alive in that.
Yeah.
Yes, he does. You'd think we'd have more of a rivalry right now, but
You would think. I'm rooting for you, buddy.
Will that be prophetic or not?
Maybe.
Who knows?
The next thing I want to know from you guys is what was your favorite challenge?
Probably the remake, just because I got to do the Spy Hunter review that I kind of thought of, and I was like, I want to shoot an action scene that's stupid, so that was really fun. And that was probably my favorite, mostly because I'm like that is my favorite video of all the videos I've done. So I'd say that one. That one was really in my wheelhouse, and just wheelhouse car. Anyways, ask Good Plot now.
Okay, so just go ahead and answer it.
Guys, you'll notice that Matt isn't just like this in the scripted videos. This is just Matt.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is, I was talking to you about. I wonder if Good Plot's going to be in character, and you're like, oh, you should be in character. I'm like, my earlier videos where I was talking all intelligent like that would be the character.
I was joking when I said that. But then I started thinking about it, and I was like, no, there's something to that.
Yeah, a little bit.
Good Plot, what has your favorite challenge been?
I'd say it was the, this is a really early one, but it was the random criteria one, just because I felt like it was the most fun to do. It was almost like a scavenger hunt of figuring out where to fit all the pieces into each other, if that makes any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, you got to thank Fusion for that one. I've always loved that challenge, and he kind of made that up in the first year. We've used it twice now.
I like to bring sunshine to the world wherever I go.
And similarly, what would you guys say was the hardest one?
Probably either the raw upload or the discussion, which I should be thankful. Which one of the judges was gone for the raw upload challenge? Where I did the
enthusiast, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
I should be thankful he was gone for that because he hates that book. But that one was hard just because it was my first video back at home and not on campus, so I had to kind of figure out how to make it work. But it was also kind of lucky because it didn't require me to do anything fancy. But that one was the hardest just because I've never really done that before. So yeah.
Yeah, I thought that's what you would say, and I think that's so interesting because you came off like really natural and organic, and that I thought.
Yeah, it's not so much that I'm uncomfortable talking; it's that I'm less sure of the quality of it, like looking back on it. Yeah. So it's a little bit easier for me to judge this is a good video if it's like scripted and edited versus like I don't know. I probably said some okay points.
Good Plot. What was your hardest round?
Probably the out of your comfort zone round because
you're out of your comfort zone.
Yes. Is that how you pronounce it? Yeah, because of course I already described everything as to why it was difficult, even in the review. But yeah, playing a video game and wondering if I'm even going to finish it while I'm doing the review, and as soon as I realized that that I probably wasn't going to finish it in time, I thought, well, there goes my chances of continuing this competition. But yeah, so it was kind of the most difficult just because I just kept wondering if I could even complete it and even complete the review itself. And of course, as you know, I did. But I was still scared that the fact that I didn't finish it would have hurt me. But apparently it didn't, because now looking back, apparently there's a lot of video game reviewers who don't finish the game they're reviewing, like John Tron.
Yeah.
Guys like them.
Yeah, Good Plot was really concerned about that and sent me a message and was like, what if I'm just not good enough at the game to finish it? Like, what do I do? And I told him that if you wanted to talk about the end of it, it was okay to just gameplay videos just so you could talk about it. But a Good Plot, I had the very same issue when I was doing Spawn Year and I had to do video game reviews because I wasn't familiar with that and I didn't know if there were any, and I don't know. I think more or less there kind of aren't really any. I mean, to a degree, I think there's like 100 different ways to do that. And a lot of it's just about what you focus on. Okay, last question for right now is what was putting together this one like? You guys had a lot longer than you've ever had before as far as the time limit goes, and a lot more freedom, a lot more freeform. But you also had to not just come up with a video, but you had to come up with a plan for a series. What was that like, man?
Coming up with what I was going to review was the easiest part of it because I knew, regardless of whether I win or not, I wanted to do a series of, I want to review these 4 like 3D Batman games from my childhood and then review all the Arkham games. So I knew that was something I wanted to do, so that was pretty easy. I mean, the hardest thing about this review was probably, this was the first time I felt that the no footage rule, only using screenshots, was really difficult. Just because there's a lot of things that are easier to explain in video games when you can use footage to show like how awkward things are and stuff like that. So that was really the biggest hurdle. And putting together that opening sketch was surprisingly easy. So yeah, I mean, I would say that it came together about the same as my other ones. I just also had to deal with the stress of coming up on near the end of the semester and having a lot of other stuff to be working on.
Yeah. Good plot. What was this run like for you?
Well, my original idea for the mini-series on your channel was originally going to be me and you talking about a particular superhero show, but then I realized, wait a minute, now that that's a part of the challenge, you know, I have to do it on my own, so I changed it up completely, and I decided, well, you know, even though, you know, throughout the challenge I have no specific theme to me, like, you know, MatKid had video games, you know, for most of them, so I had no specific theme going on, and I felt like since I have this moniker, I should take advantage of that, so that's why I decided to go for, even though it might have been predictable, I decided it was the smartest way to go with how I am, so I went for reviewing the villainy of franchises, and I went with, so I decided to go with Toy Story, and so as soon as I came up with that idea, I guess the hardest part was just you know, the fact that I had all these ideas going in my head all at the same time on what to do for this project. It was a matter of, okay, I'm going to have to plan this all out. What am I going to do this day and what I'm going to do that day? And also, just like with superheroes, most supervillains have to juggle their supervillain life with their civilian life. So I had to juggle my supervillain life of making this video with my civilian life of being the stagehand at a Taylor Swift concert. So
I don't think you're making that up.
No, I don't either. I've got proof later if you want to see it.
Hey,
But
wait a
anyway,
minute. Wait a minute. Is Taylor Swift the adversary?
Of me?
No, he's
No,
the antagonist.
the antagonist. Excuse me.
No, she's not the antagonist. Although that would have been an awesome reveal. Man, why didn't I think of that now? But anyway,
oh my God, that's great.
So as soon as I scheduled, is someone else talking? As soon as I scheduled that gig, you gave me the release date, and I thought, oh, these are really close. But I decided to plan it out ahead of time on how I was going to, you know, when I was going to make the review, and so overall, I'm blanking out here. Okay, so overall, it was just a matter of the most difficulty being, you know, planning everything out and executing it when I wanted to, and you know, also I didn't realize that I'd have to spend an extra day recovering from being a stagehand for a Taylor Swift concert, because it takes a lot out of you, especially with the shape I'm in. But I did manage to you know, get everything that I was planning on in there, maybe with some things cut out, but one more challenge was that I realized I thought that it was too short the first time I put it all together. So So I like exported just multiple different videos, just trying to tweak it each time, and just trying to, get to the point where I was happy with it, because there were several times where I had it complete and I still wanted to go back and add some things or take out some things and stuff like that. Now I'm done.
Cool. No, that's. I'm not making fun of when I say that's all fascinating. I imagine going up and down an aisle at a Taylor Swift concert. It's got to be really hard with wearing your eye patch. Well, without further ado, folks, we're going to go ahead and watch the first video. And I did post the videos today on Geekvolution so that folks had it time, but decided we should go ahead and watch them during the show so they're refreshing our minds. And so these guys can kind of see our reactions to them a little bit. And I'm really glad that I did post them earlier in the day since we haven't anything. We can't do it the way I thought we were going to get to do it. So anyway, without further ado, let's watch ThatMattKid's video. It's about the video game Batman Vengeance. Yeah. And here we go.
That was close.
I told you there was nothing to worry about. There ain't no bat.
Oh.
Peyton? Hayden?
Lately, Batman games have been synonymous with quality, with their complex narratives, their fancy schmancy graphics, tight controls, and their Man-Bat. I mean, seriously, did you go to the midnight launch of Arkham Knight? Because I did. It was crazy. But Batman games haven't always been met with hordes of money-throwing fans. In fact, more often than not, they've been met with pleas of, stop, please stop, and, oh god, why do you keep making these? Now, there have obviously been some gems over the years, and heck, even some of the recent games outside of the Arkham series have been pretty solid. But today, we ain't talking about Lego games or side-scrollers or fighting games. We're talking 3D action-adventure Batmaning. I think now is a perfect time to look at gaming's first attempts to do Batman justice in 3D. Now for this mini-marathon, I'll be tackling Batman Vengeance, Rise of Sin Tzu, Dark Tomorrow, and Batman Begins. Why? Because this is my show and you can deal with it. Actually, these are 4 games I played quite a bit when I was a kid. Some of my earliest memories are watching Batman the Animated Series and playing Sonic the Hedgehog. So, naturally, I wanted all of that, but in this. The perfect merging of Batman and gaming. Unfortunately, I was like -1 when Batman Returns came out, so my introduction to Batman in video games was Batman Vengeance, at the ripe old age of 8. And in the same way that Bruce Wayne was robbed of his parents, I, as a child, was robbed of my ignorance as I was truly and efficiently disappointed in a game for the first time. So let's start by talking about this game's background. It's red. But seriously, I was immediately drawn to this game based on Season 4 of Batman the Animated Series, or as it's also called, The New Batman Adventures. The game was developed by Ubisoft? Really? Now, this gave me a lot of hope when I cracked open this game again. Ubisoft has made some awesome games, and actually made 2 of my favorite games of all time. Maybe, just maybe, this game isn't as bad as I remember. Being based off the animated series, the game does the whole cartoony, cel-shaded thing. This works overall, and there are some neat visuals, but the in-engine cutscenes are just really terrible. Almost non-existent lip-syncing, awkward movement and camera angles. This is a pretty big contrast to the pre-rendered cutscenes, which are a visual treat, especially the way Batman's cape moves. It's all flowy. Music in this game is a bit of a mixed bag. Unfortunately, we don't have Shirley Walker, but subbing in for her is Sean K. Clement. Now, he comes up with some tracks that I actually like quite a bit, but he also has some of these moody, atmospheric tracks that are supposed to be ominous and threatening, and a lot of them just end up being kind of forgettable. And you know what else is forgettable? This story. The game itself has a pretty conventional structure. It's divided into several levels, all within 5 episodes. Now, I like that this is, reminiscent of the show, and I really like the title cards we get for each episode, but what I don't like is the standard by-the-numbers Joker plot. Let's dive right in, shall we? And, spoilers. Spoilers ever. So one night, Batman's chilling on a building, as Batman tends to do. Now, he hears Joker's laugh somehow, and it's weird. It plays like his bat sense started tingling. Anyways, he goes to Gotham Chemical, where he finds one Mary Flynn, bound and gagged and lying next to a bomb. It turns out Joker is holding her son Toby for ransom. Not sure why he wants to blow her up then, but whatever. So fight, chase. Batman ends up on a bridge where he saves Toby, only to find out that Mary was Harley Quinn in disguise, which, by the way, is obvious from the moment Mary opens her mouth. There's only so much you can do to disguise Arlene Sorkin's voice. I was waiting for the reveal that Batman knew it was her the whole time, but no, he was just genuinely surprised. What a detective. After Joker is done coming in on a wrecking ball, they duke it out and Joker ends up hanging from the bridge. Batman dives to grab Joker, telling Joker to take his hand. Joker admits defeat and takes Batman's hand, but Joker is wearing his electric joy buzzer, which shocks Batman, and Joker plummets to his apparent death. Brilliant. No. Truly original storytelling. I could stop right here. I mean, what do you think is going to happen? Batman's going to go on some adventure. He's going to fight a bunch of his rogues while uncovering some sinister, overarching plot, and then find out near the end that Joker is in fact behind all of it and not dead. You know it. I know it. Let's just get this out of our way. So the encounter sets off a whole chain of events that involve Joker using his henchmen to trick Batman and some of Batman's other rogues into basically doing whatever he wants. He tricks Mr. Freeze into going after a pharmaceutical company because, again, real original. Dr. Isaac Evers was working on a drug called Promethium that was meant to help people in cryogenic stasis. It didn't work, so Freeze is feeling a little homicide-y. Next, Harley gives Poison Ivy a chemical that she can use to turn regular people into plant people. Which, hey, Batman, don't look so surprised. You've literally fought this exact thing before. Like, literally. So anyways, it turns out that Evers was actually getting paid by the Joker, so he goes to Gotham Gas Works to torch the place and get rid of the evidence. Batman stops him, but now has to run from the police themselves. Why? Because someone threw a batarang at the commissioner. I mean, really, Batman is right there, and you have, 5 guys pointing their lights directly at him. Look how much he's not throwing a batarang. But, oh no, Batman threw that batarang. Definitely. No, I guess it could have been Batgirl, but really? This right here is enough to immediately declare war on Batman. Last time I saw this scenario play out, it was because somebody died. And wouldn't Gordon call this off as soon as he woke up? No? Okay. So Batman fights the police and he finds out, say it with me now, Joker's still alive and he's behind it all. This barely counts as a reveal. I can only assume this plot was written for people who have never seen or read anything Batman, like, ever. Joker tells Batman that this is all his fault. See, Joker needed the Prometheum because it's really flammable, he needed Ivy to rebuild the chemical plant so he could make more Joker toxin, and he needed Batman to open the water pipes so he could dump these chemicals into the water and burn Gotham down while also killing everybody at the same time with laughing gas. This plot is stupid. I mean, what does he mean it's all Batman's fault? This is an interesting philosophical idea regarding Batman's true impact on the psyches of the people of Gotham. But this is like 1/3 Batman's fault at the most. He didn't send Freeze that videotape or give Ivy that chemical. All he did was open the water mains, which he only did because Evers was going to burn places to the ground. Also, Ivy's done this before. How does Harley have a chemical that Ivy doesn't? Also, the police have been turned against Batman before, only to come around in the end. It's been 3 whole seasons. Shouldn't they have given him the benefit of the doubt this time? Nope, one batarang, and it's time to put the old bat down.
Naturally, Batman stops Joker, and the night is saved. Really, the only thing that saves this story is the Batman the Animated Series voice cast reprising all of their roles. Unfortunately, their talent is pretty much wasted here. Okay, maybe this game can be saved. After all, some of the most critically acclaimed games of all time don't exactly have compelling stories. Maybe Batman Vengeance will make up for this with stellar gameplay. Nope. So what we have here is a standard go-through levels, fight bad guys, get to the end, and fight a boss of some kind. Oh, and pro tip, there's no autosave. So when you quit the game, make sure you hit the save game button on the main menu or your progress goes straight out the window. The combat here is very weird. When you get close to an enemy, the camera shifts and it almost becomes like a fighting game. The jump button suddenly becomes a kick button, and you string kicks and punches together to pull off combos. Works in theory, except half the time it feels like Batman isn't listening to you. The input lag is palpable, and you end up just mashing buttons together until the guy drops. You can do a special attack when this meter fills, but you better be in the exact right position, otherwise you're getting hit. And God help you if the game throws more than one guy at you at the same time, which it will do. This game also came out during that weird phase where like every 3D game also kind of had to be a platformer. So to go along with your unimpressive combat, here's some unimpressive platforming. It's really inconsistent. Sometimes Batman grabs on the ledges, sometimes he doesn't, and the controls aren't anywhere near precise enough. So you just fall off the edge and have to repeat the process over and over again. Which is especially frustrating because you're Batman. Why can I grapple here but not here? Not that using your grapple is satisfying in the first place. See, every time you want to use a gadget, you have to awkwardly switch to first-person view and switch between all your gadgets. This does nothing but break the flow of the game. And the gadgets are barely used anyways. You use batarangs and the occasional remote explosive. So to recap, we have different modes for exploring, fighting, and using gadgets. Now, if Ocarina of Time has told us anything, it's that this can work, but Ocarina of Time lets you lock onto enemies, use your gadgets during combat, something this game just doesn't do. You know what else this game doesn't do? Make boss fights fun. Almost every boss fight in this game has you staying in first-person mode and throwing batarangs at things until they go down. These fights are insanely boring and really, really easy. I mean, dodging these missiles takes almost no effort, and this is the second to last boss. If I could describe this game in a word, it would be clunky. And also boring. Nothing in this game feels like it functions the way it should. You never have to mix up your strategy, and stealth is practically an afterthought, only required for one token mission. Occasionally you get a vehicle section where you drive the Batmobile or the Batplane. These are okay, but is that what it looks like above the red sky? That is just surreal. This game is like Batman Forever. It has some cool ideas, but it just kind of shoots itself in the foot all the time. It's really only saved by a couple decent performances, and at the end of the day, the difference is that I still enjoy Batman Forever. Batman Vengeance is clunky both in gameplay and story. Its overall design is dated, and while it's not the worst Batman game out there, it's certainly nowhere near the best. If you're a Batman fanatic, and you love the animated series voice cast, then you might get some enjoyment out of this, but you'll have to get past a lot of frustration. You know, throughout this entire process, I've been racking my brain trying to figure out what the title actually means, Batman Vengeance. I'm not really sure what's being venged or avenged or... I got nothing. So I'll give you guys something to think about while you look forward to my review of Batman Rise of Sin Tzu. If you'll excuse me, I've got justice to fight for. Hang on. This part's the trickiest. ThatMattKid out. This thing's hot.
Yeah, that MrGoodPlot. That was a nice touch. Yeah.
I was gonna have the whole thing be like ThatMattKid presents, but then I remembered the BatKid movie, and I didn't know if that would be in poor taste or not.
That was the first thing I thought of when you said that, but I mean, I didn't care. It was awesome. Okay, so enough out of you. Let's talk to the judges now, and I want to begin this time with Aaron Dicer. Go ahead, buddy.
Why, thank you, Cap. First, let me say congratulations to both of you for getting this far. You're amazing. You've shown quality work all the way through. And it's been an absolute pleasure to see your work and your growth, and I've been having a blast. Having said that, I was a little disappointed this round, and I'll go into some more specifics of kind of where that comes from. I don't want to be too much of a downer because both of these videos are really good, but I want to kind of go into some of the specifics of what I saw. And so since we're talking about Matt, we'll start there. That opening is beautiful. Like, there's a real cinematic language that you use. I don't know if it just comes naturally to you or if you've, studied it, but the way you use cameras and angles and all that kind of stuff is really well done. I loved the opening. I also thought this was probably your best humor that you've had in a video. I thought the humor on this was really on point. I loved the little throwaway stuff that you do. I think that's, kind of becoming your calling card with the, it was red or it was all flowy. That kind of stuff is really good. I thought it was really, really funny. And one thing I've loved about your reviews all the way through, that's here as well, is you really get structure. The structure of this review is really, really sound. You talk about the plot, the gameplay, all that stuff, and we know what we're referencing and what we're supposed to be thinking about and how it's going to affect how we feel about the end product. So I thought that was really well done. And at the end of the day, that's what allows you to know what something is going to mean to you. So, like, if the goal of reviewing is to tell somebody, oh, here's what you're going to think about this, here's the information you need to know how you're going to feel, a great structure and great organization can really give somebody, a hold on those things, and I thought you did that really well. Here's where the video got me a little bit, and a lot of this stuff I probably will repeat because I actually think both videos suffered from some of the same kind of things. One of those is the length freedom, I think, hurt both of these videos. I think the video is too long. And I think there's a lot of opportunities to cut here. The pacing is a little slow. The title cards especially hang too long for us to, we lose a little bit of momentum there. There's a little bit, for me, too much of distraction by minutia. You get into the real nitty-gritty details here, which is fine, but if you're going to really go deep, make sure it's a deep that really, really matters. And I feel like some of the minutia you got into wasn't stuff that was stuff overall, if you hadn't brought it in, you could have still given the same impression of the product, of the game, of the review as you had. So I think some of that could have been cut. Also, as cinematic as the intro was, the rest of it was somewhat standard. I mean, there was some good Ken Burns stuff and some inset stuff that I think worked well, but there wasn't a lot to speak of out of the box creatively during the meat of your review. So, and that's a style choice, and that's fine. But I was maybe hoping for a little bit more there. And I think your lighting or your white balance or something was off in the video that was subtle as well in your main meat portion that also was it doesn't look as crisp or clear or as well lit as a lot of your other videos have. It looked to me like it was the white balance because it looked like your walls were maybe a little blue or something like that. That kind of stuff isn't necessarily something everybody will notice explicitly, but they're going to feel it subtly, you know, subconsciously they're going to feel something's off. Along those same lines, audio is that way too. I really encourage people to use the same audio throughout the entire film. So whatever audio you're shooting your on-camera stuff with, shoot your narration stuff with too, because it adds a consistency to that feel, and there's not that distraction when the audio changes. That's, again, just another subtle thing that will happen. Overall, great product. I don't think it was your best of the season, but I still think it's a great video, and well done.
Let's hear next from Manos.
Okay, I want to repeat it. Oh, okay. I'm getting a little echo there.
I'm hearing too, yeah.
All right, we good?
I think so. Go ahead.
Okay, good. I just want to repeat a few of the things that Aaron had to say. First off, congratulations to you, Matt, and to you, Good Plot, but I'll get to that later. It's been fantastic watching you throughout this season, and I have to say the work on this one, I think, is really good, especially the strong opening, I thought. One of the things I like so much about that, and I noticed this on the second time watching the video, is how the way you use lighting and framing of the scenes for that costume. That costume looks really good and intimidating when you see it, and then when you see it in the basic review, then you go, wow, it looks like a piece of crap. I mean, it's funnier to watch on a second or third viewing. It's like, oh wow, that costume looks really good in the doorway. And you know, just a good use of lighting and shadows. The video itself, the review itself, I should say, I think does your same kind of mix of humor and information. I think explained very well. And I get a full view of this game. I understand this game because of this review, and I understand the issues of it, good and bad. I think the way you presented it, I thought was a good framing device. I like the fact that you did story first and then gameplay afterwards. Because to me, story, especially talking about a video game I've never played, is going to be more interesting to me. You know, this is Batman, and this, of course, this is from my favorite version of Batman, is the animated series universe. And I think you made your case for what was wrong and what was good with the video game very well in this. I will say it's one of your funniest videos. I think I agree with you. I think Spy Hunter is probably your funniest. I just think the humor in that was, maybe it's because it was just, I think that was a departure from your previous videos. So when you went into this era of this method of humor, it's like, oh wow, he could really play this game with humor and be awesome. And I also like you know, Aaron mentioned this too, but I do like your kind of side comments in your review itself. I think you display your funniest jokes and lines without adding too much attention to them. I think that's usual norm in your work, and I think that was on display here. Outside of that, I will say maybe the pacing, like Aaron also said, was a little slow, but I think that was more of a nitpick for me than a huge issue. Yeah, I think that's what I have. Both these videos were great.
Okay, let's hear next from Lance Fusion.
Hello.
Okay, we've now heard from Lance Fusion. No, I'm sorry,
glad I could help contribute to this. I mean, I don't know if that's different to say from Manos and Aaron, who both summed it up really well. I agree with a lot of what they said. I think this was your funniest one. There's so much character in your script this time around, and just small things like with the you know, the like I want some of this in that, you know, it's just the small things like that really help bring out the comedy in there and make it more than just a sort of static review. And the opening scene was great. It's the best sort of opening or framing device you've used since Spy Hunter, and like of the two, I found this video to be more visually appealing in terms of, you know, the images. So some of the images used, background stuff, titles, things like that. I do agree that it probably could have been trimmed down some more, and as much as I like to focus on things like story and reviews, I almost felt like it kind of got subsumed by story in this one, and it kind of got a bit too detailed into the plot set's territory. And especially in regards to a video game, I kind of wish you'd opened up with gameplay, or spent. Not to say gameplay was lacking in this, but I do recall the first time I watched this one, once the story part ended, I checked the time on the time bar, and I was surprised like there was only about 4 minutes left once you got to gameplay, and so I almost feel like in a sense that you were kind of expecting this to be almost like an episode of the TV series in terms of story, where I sort of feel like licensed games like this kind of almost take a more best of compilation type thing, and don't really necessarily follow in exact continuity with the series itself. So I think that's why I kind of felt that the story section was just a little bit too. I just think got a little bit lost in that. And might have been better served to focus on a few other things instead. But overall, it was a fun review to watch. I think it could have been trimmed down some, and yeah. I now conclude my speech.
Superhero enthusiast, what do you have to add?
Well, I mean, first off, congrats for getting to the end. It's incredible, and it's great to see here. It goes for you as well, good plot. I thought this was really, really good. I'll echo the same kind of criticisms as far as like maybe compressing this a little bit. I do think maybe in the story department that would be the best place to cut. But then I was sort of thinking this is supposed to be a show that's on Geekvolution, and like story analysis is more the kind of thing that belongs there, so like maybe it does work in that kind of context. As a fan of Batman the Animated Series and just kind of the DCAU in general, who's not delved into the video game side of things, I thought that this was just a really interesting choice. I liked that you kind of put it in sort of that context as far as like, okay, we have seen this stuff before. Batman's seen this monster. He's fought this monster in that one episode. So that stuff was kind of cool to me. I really liked what you did at the end, where you kind of compared it to Batman Forever. I don't know, I just felt maybe doing that would make things more accessible to people who aren't necessarily gamers, if you can sort of compare it to just a regular film, because as soon as you said Batman Forever, I pretty much knew exactly what you meant. So I thought that was kind of an effective technique. But overall, like, yeah, the humor is great here. This was just a fantastic video, and I did notice some of the nods to Geekvolution. The I think it's Dark Times music at the start, and the titles were very reminiscent of Cap's Arkham City review. But I don't know. That's not necessarily a criticism, it's just something I noticed. But yeah, great job.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and go now, and I'll piggyback off what Alex was saying, and say that before you said that, I wanted to criticize that. Like I couldn't decide if it was a nod or not, and like being a thing. I figured it probably was, but I wasn't sure. But I don't know. I was weirded out by it because I was like, well, if this goes to series, because I'm trying to think of this as a pilot for a series. Like I said, we're playing studio execs, and we're gonna greenlight one of these as a series. And I was thinking, well, if that's gonna be his like introduction for all of these, and he's going to use that music, there almost needs to be something to make sure we know that it's an homage and that he's not like unaware. Oh, ooh, the theme to Spawn Year, and we used it 365 times. But of course, it's not my music. It's not like it's not like he's ripping me off. It's that's stock music that I probably heard in a couple other videos. But just the fact that just for me personally watching it, since that is so ingrained in me and so associated with Spawn Year, was really strange seeing that. But since but I'm with Aaron to a degree that the biggest issue with this is pacing, and it does feel padded. But Aaron, I don't agree with Aaron that it needs to be trimmed. I think it's more of a matter of different focus should have been put on some different things, and just more detail should have been added. Like, I don't think the issue is too much detail. I think the issue is the places where it feels like he's trying to put 15 minutes, and there's more stuff he could have talked about. Now, I'm partly saying that because I played this game, and there were some things that I remembered from it. I went back and looked at my collection to see if I still had it, and I don't. I sold it because I hate it, apparently. And while I was watching it, I kept thinking, oh, I wish he'd spend more time on gameplay, because it's a lot more irritating than he's even making it out to sound, I think. Like a lot of the gadgetry and stuff he's talking about, it is impossible to use certain weapons in that game. Like, there's just certain things that are really hard to do. Matt, I got lost playing it. I tried playing it 3 times and always got lost in the same place. And I kept wondering, and again, this is just me, I kept wondering while I was watching it if you had that experience, or if you're just way better at video games than me, so you didn't have that problem. But I kept going, I wonder if he's going to talk about how is this really easy to get stuck and you don't know where the heck you're supposed to go. I feel like there were some communication issues with this, where like, if you're going to spend that long talking about the story of a thing where you kind of acknowledge toward the end that it's just a cookie-cutter framework to make gameplay happen, and if you're going to spend that long on it, you've got to bring that up front. I think because it sounds too much as we're going along, like the most important thing for the game is the story, and I have a hard time understanding why that is when you then get to the end and you go, well, there are great games that have terrible stories, so let's see if the gameplay is any good, and then we spend only like 4 minutes talking about it. I mean, like, I'm mostly a nerd guy, but when I was okay, I shouldn't compare this to Spawn Year, but you used the music, so I'm going to. When I did video games in Spawn Year, and they'd have these kinds of cookie-cutter stories, I'd spend like a minute and a half on story, because it's really about story, and you don't expect that to be any good. And so, I mean, like, I think it's fine that you spent the kind of time you did on it, but I think you've got to be more self-aware about it up front at the beginning. And I also, like I said, felt like there was a whole lot of gameplay stuff you just didn't even get into. So there is a 15-minute review here, but what you gave us, I think, is more like a 10, 11-minute review, sort of padded out. What's there is really good. It's just, I think there could have been a lot more with the gameplay. The humor, as you guys were saying, is the best thing. Now, the structure is really good. You're always solid with that. I thought that a lot of the editing, as always, is super professional looking. When you're like moving different things across the screen, like with the Sonic the Hedgehog game and stuff like that, but you don't bring everything over in the same way. There's a lot of like attention to detail in the editing room that I'm not seeing as much in the visual department outside of that opening. And I felt like the script was better than the delivery this time, Matt. I mean, like, I feel like you were maybe hurt a little bit from, and this is just, you mentioned this earlier, but I knew about this already because we had talked some, where you had so much school stuff and things going on. This sounded like you recorded it like really late at night, and I don't know if that's true, but it sounds like you were maybe a little bit tired when you shot it, and like it could have been more driving. I mean, like I think that I think even the pacing of the speech could have been a little bit more lickety-split. And finally, I think that a multitude of things could have been covered up, but just by picking, just by different choices of soundtrack. Because something about the music that you picked, while it's kind of Batman-y and it's sort of haunting and brutish, it kind of slows it down, and it already feels a little too slow, like Aaron was saying, because of like the titles at the beginning and stuff like that. So you needed more of a driving soundtrack for this one, I think. Even if you wanted to do kind of a brooding thing, I don't mean it had to be like double kick bass. I just mean like I think it's just the soundtrack's a little too drony for what you're doing. And I'm sounding super negative because everybody else, hit a lot of the positives that I liked, and I brought some of that stuff up too, but I just want to mention a couple other negative things that I thought kind of hurt it a little bit. But you're like pseudo, like self-deprecating, almost like awkward, I don't know if I even want to be on screen right now thing. You've come so far from the beginning. Like at the beginning, when you would do that, I felt like it was a thing you were really doing, where it's like, I'm not sure how I feel about this being on camera thing, and now it's obviously deliberate. And you have a character, and I mean it's not over the top. It's not as over the top and extreme as Mr. Goodplot, you have a character, and I think you've done wonderful things with that, and I think that this is some of the best example of that. I'll echo the guys that said that this is not your best video, but it's still, of course, quite good. Does anybody else want to bring up anything before we move on? Now that Matt's probably going to leave the video, unsubscribe, and anybody want to bring up anything?
Yeah, I just want to say, in terms of the since you kind of brought it up, in terms of the pilot for a series thing, I think it was kind of smart as a pitch to just to sort of present this as a series he wants to do, in terms of, oh, if you purchase this series, you get these 4 other reviews going on. I already have it lined up to do these games. So it's obviously sort of a pitch for the future and looking ahead, and of course the best part is that even if he does not win tonight, he can still make these reviews happen. So it's not as if anybody watching this review on his channel is going to be disappointed, because he has a plan and he's going to follow through with it.
Yeah, that's a great point. I also meant to mention that I liked Alex's point about, we do mostly narratives on the channel, so since it is for Geekvolution, he might be thinking, well, I should focus on story because we're kind of a story channel. But again, I would have brought that up front. Like Goodplot makes more references to Geekvolution and the fact that it's going to be on Geekvolution. And I think in this particular case, because we frown on that some throughout the contest, but I think in this particular case, since it's a pitch, almost like we're a network, since it's a pitch to the channel, I think that you can much more get away with that kind of thing. And Matt, if I'd been you, I would have been like, okay, look, it's a Geekvolution thing, we're going to talk about story, it's going to be stupid, but we're going to do it. And that's what I would have done with him. And I think if you did something right out the gate, then the fact that you spent most of your time on that, it would have not been anything like glaring to me, I think, if you'd been more upfront about that. Anything else? Okay, well, we're going to go ahead and go on now then to Mr. Goodplot's review. Mr. Goodplot reviewed Villainy of Toy Story. I was reminded of the Toy Story movies, of the entire Toy Story franchise, in fact, and I was reminded a little bit of the that Mr. Fusion did in the first season when he reviewed just the ending of the first Superman movie, and because we've talked a lot about, like, when we review things, we just a piece of it, and he's going back to that sort of stuff, so it's gonna be really interesting to talk about it. Okay, bringing back the screen share, and we've got one more 15-minute video to watch, and here we go.
All operatives to your stations. This is not a drill. All operatives to your stations. This is not a drill. All operatives to your stations. This is not a drill.
Okay, I guess it's just gonna run through over the stoplights.
Mission calls. I will be back, my loves.
This is not a drill. All operatives to your stations. This is not a drill.
Mr. Goodplot reporting for duty.
Mr. Goodbot, present and accounted for.
Mr. Goodhop is here, but physically, not mentally.
And I'm the gorilla, and you're not.
So the crew is all here then. Well, it's time to face the inevitable. Put him up on screen. Greetings, my master, the antagonist.
Goodplot, we are just inches away from receiving the go-ahead to finally invade the Geekvolution channel.
Do you realize they're watching us right now?
They've accepted their fates, but if we keep playing their little game beyond the goal points, we might as well make it more beneficial to your job as my henchman.
Look under your chair.
The Toy Story movies? But they've been dissected by just about every reviewer on the internet, even by Captain Logan under the guidance of a wizard.
But you are going to review exclusively the villainy of the series. There is no discrimination when it comes to studying the art of antagonism. Now, if you excuse me, I have some personal business I must tend to.
Well then, I think it goes without saying that the Disney Pixar trilogy is about a world where toys are sentient while the humans remain unaware. So with the perspective being from the toys, the sources of villainy come from places you wouldn't normally expect from our point of view. The first film had a punk kid, the second had a toy clerk, and the third had daycare toys. But there's a lot more to it than that. I believe that each film follows a formula I like to call the trifecta of villainy. First, there's the primary villain, then there's the secondary villain, who is usually there to serve the primary villain, and finally there is the false villain, which is a character that is meant to be perceived as a villain until a twist that reveals otherwise. For the first Toy Story, the primary villain is Sid. The toys care about their owners, who care for them back even if it's not in the same way. So Sid is the embodiment of the lack of care for toys. This undisciplined preteen who would otherwise be regarded as simply a nuisance is depicted here as the personification of death. The secondary villain is Sid's dog. Makes sense. Toys wouldn't like to be chewed. So let's get over to the false villains, a group of toys mutilated by Sid. At first, they come off as these Frankenstein monsters, but they actually retained their rationality and aligned themselves with our hero toys, Buzz and Woody, to overthrow Sid. So most of the villainy in this movie is on Sid's shoulders. So if you forget to look at this through the toy's perspective, you'll keep thinking this bratty little kid does not deserve such a prestigious mantle of the bringer of death. But what if he has this mantle not just because of the point of view? Now, this might sound a little twisted, but if Sid really does take full joy in destroying toys, then what's to stop him from moving to animals, and then later moving to people? So when the toys break the #1 rule by revealing their sentience to Sid, thus scaring him straight, the heroes may have accomplished more good than we realized, because they prevented another Jeffrey Dahmer. Now let's move on to Toy Story 2, where the human villain is Al, a sleazy owner of a toy store. Wait a minute, he's portly, he has glasses, wears costumes, collects toys, falls asleep eating Cheetos in front of the TV? Oh, God, I'm slowly becoming Al.
Does that mean that I'm becoming the jackalope from Bounding?
But you're not a thief. Oh, yeah, I do not go that way of villainy. But Al did. He tried to steal Woody. Not only that, but the main trait he displayed was his greed for money. People who buy and sell toys as a living is a very common thing now and then. So it's certain that most of them are not this big of jerks, though a lot of jobs tend to get antagonized all the time. We know that not all corporate CEOs are evil. That doesn't mean we'll stop using them as villains, though. But he could have been enough without the criminal level of desperation, because he's merely our secondary villain. The primary villain was a toy this time, Stinky Pete the Prospector. Even though Al got the ball rolling by wanting to sell Woody to a museum overseas, Pete manipulates Woody into accepting it, using the guise of a kind-hearted mentor. So when he reveals his true colors, not only is he willing to take apart Woody, but he's also a racist. The way he uses the term space toys is as if he's using a racial slur against Buzz. Pete, you are on the wrong side of history. And that leaves us with Toy Story 2's last villain, Buzz's arch nemesis, Emperor Zurg, the coolest of these villains. Well, coolest looking.
Of course, I have his action figure.
That's not Zurg, that's Death's Head.
Close enough.
So after his glorious setup in the first film, along with the setup at the beginning of this film, it turns out he's our false villain. The twist is not that he's good the whole time, it's that he's stupid the whole time. Apparently all toys from the Buzz Lightyear line start out being delusional. But it's okay. A Saturday morning cartoon series was produced as what the Buzz Lightyear line would have been based on. This was where Zurg was utilized as primary villain. Granted, it was just for 2 seasons, but still, I savored it. So now we've come to Toy Story 3, where the primary villain this time is Lotso Huggins Bear.
And he feels like just a copy of the last one.
Both Stinky Pete and Lotso are heavy-set. Both pretend to be mild-mannered elders before showing their true nature. Both have tragic pasts that made them doubt any loyalty humans would have over toys. And both receive their comeuppance, in which they're taken by a new owner who has an unconventional way of treating their toys. But they do have their differences. Pete was never owned in the first place, so he never had sympathy for toys who refused to let their owners go. Lotso was owned, but was lost and then replaced. That feeling of rejection drove him to demand dominance over all toys at a daycare. Maybe I would have thought that Lotso was more unique if they had gone with the original concept for him. Apparently, in the early stages of this film, Lotso was a malfunctioned Teddy Ruxpin who took out his frustration on other toys by forming a whole gang of toy terrorists.
That would have been the best thing ever.
He still has a gang, which serves as our false villains. They're the toys most useful to Lotso, so he grants them sanctuary in the kindergartner room. As for the toys he deems useless to him, they're imprisoned in the preschooler room to suffer and eventually die. I know it's a bit on the nose, or under it. The gang learns from the new toys the error of their ways. Really? All of them at the same time? Couldn't there have been 1 or 2 that still needed some convincing?
Going back to Lotso, you could make a case that the primary and secondary antagonists are switchable in this situation.
Throughout the trilogy, we've seen all kinds of threats that toys would always have to deal with. But the be-all, end-all threat is being discarded as junk and thrown into a landfill. So the villainy of Toy Story goes out with a bang, using an inescapable fire pit to show that no matter what, death is inevitable. Unless you have sweet toy aliens. We also get cameos from past villains. Zurg is one of the newest toys of the Redeemed Daycare, and Sid shows up, presumably to show us that the lesson he learned stuck, at least in his subconscious, since he became a garbage man instead of a serial killer. But is there not more after the trilogy? I do not recall any of the short films having villainy.
So let's skip to the holiday specials.
Spoiler alert for anyone who cares.
Both the Halloween and Christmas specials contain villains, but they mostly feel like reused ideas. Toy Story of Terror had a sleaze who steals and sells toys, which we've already seen. And Toy Story That Time Forgot had a group of fierce toys who were neglected by their owners, which is also something we've already seen.
But those are just harmless cash-ins that are not required viewing.
It's the upcoming fourth movie that I hope stays clear of retreading any old ground and finds something new for this world to offer, since the fourth installment is coming regardless of a logical story conclusion. But we should at least look back at what made the previous villains memorable first. The original film kept things simple. You never needed to know that much about Sid. Sure, there was stuff here and there about his family, but all we needed to know was that he loved breaking toys, and that was that. With the second film, it seemed that we were getting another simplified villain with Al. He loves money. There you go. But then we were in for a pleasant surprise when it turned out the actual primary villain, Pete, had more dimension to him, complete with a backstory and a more intricate motivation. But it seemed that Pixar thought if it worked before, it would work again. So they devoted even more time to the backstory and motivation of the third film's villain, Lotso. It felt like they tried too hard this time, and it just gave the film more to juggle than it already had with the theme of saying goodbye to your beloved toys. The villain that saved it for me in that film was the one without a face, because it was more of an idea that the whole story was building towards. So as we forcibly look to the future, the amount of background and motivation for a villain should depend on what story you're telling. Keep in mind you have to balance everything about the villain with everything else you've got in your movie. Oh, and I forgot one more source of villainy. Misunderstandings! Good God, these toys are so quick to turn on each other at the slightest suspicion. Gentlemen, you are losing sight of the real villains when you do that. Calculating villainy score of Toy Story 1, Toy Story 2, and Toy Story 3.
I have returned, hopefully to a finished report.
Mr. Goodbot was just in the middle of calculating the total score.
Overall percentage calculated.
Good. But if you really wish to continue being a supervillain, then prepare yourself for what needs to be done once we invade the enemy's land.
I know.
And you also know what will happen if you lose this opportunity.
Is it still execution?
So you remember.
But what about my comrades?
You say that as if they matter.
Are you seriously gonna keep letting him walk all over you? Only I should have that problem, because I'm a small animal, and it's hard not to step on me.
No, wait. I might be secondary antagonist now, but I have a chance. If we get more chapters, he can't be the primary antagonist for all of them. There's room for me. There's a chance for me to elevate.
All right, folks. The first thing I want to say is, hey, Mr. Goodplot, guess what? I've got one. Ha 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 ha. Okay, let's begin with Lance Fusion this time.
Hello again.
Hey, hello, Lance Fusion. Okay, so once again.
God, this is so easy tonight. I'm going to say one word. Cool. No, I don't know. I didn't say this before, but again, congratulations to both of you for making it this far, and it was a joy to watch you both. And now my dog won't leave me alone. Please go lie down, Dax. Where was I going with this? um, I guess I'll start off with a couple of nitpicky negative things. I mentioned before that I thought that Matt's was a little more visually appealing, and I mentioned the titles in regards to that. Because in this one, I admit that the sort of red typeface stood out, but not necessarily in a good way, especially on some of the. It wasn't so bad on the black backgrounds, but on the actual images of your villains, sometimes it kind of clashed with the or blended into the back or blended into the image, so it was hard to read, and just didn't read quite as well as Matt using the actual Batman font for his. And I loved the sort of setup or the structure for this one in terms of doing a primary, secondary, and false antagonist. I feel after watching this 2 times that the first movie definitely fits into that category really well. I started to feel like the second and third ones were reaching a little bit, trying to fit that mold. Especially like in the third one, for example, it seems like the false villains and that were really just more secondary antagonists to the bear. And there wasn't really sort of the same sort of false villain that the first movie had, where it is. As in, characters you think are antagonistic towards you, but turns out not to be. So while I feel it was a great idea, I don't know if I believe that the structure actually conforms to fit that. I will say, in terms of this being a pilot for a series, this format is brilliant. I feel that it's specific enough to be unmistakably you, but at the same time, and unless of course it is every episode would be the primary, secondary and false protagonist, then I think you might be limiting yourself as to what materials you can choose. But what I thought was interesting is that if since you chose the fire in Toy Story 3 as being a primary antagonist, which really relates more to an idea, if you were to go with that route, that opens you up to almost any kind of media, even ones that don't particularly use a hero or a protagonist, antagonist as as actual characters. I think you could expand that format to use almost anything. I thought that was really fascinating to see if you wanted to go in that direction. So you could have a show that was both really uniquely you and hilarious, but at the same time not limit yourself to just sort of superhero, supervillain types of conflicts. So I thought this is really good overall. I think my favorite joke was the small animal thing that cracks me up every time I watch it. It just an overall really good video from you.
Alex.
This was really funny. I mean, as always, I always kind of feel like I need to prep myself and go to the bathroom beforehand, because just laugh so hard I pee. I will say the use of music was really good here to kind of prevent it from getting too low key and low energy. I do sort of agree, I think, with Aaron at the beginning when he said that some of the criticisms we made of Matt's movie video, as far as kind of compressing it, could sort of be applied here as well. But I think I have a really clear idea now of what kind of good plot going forward could be, and that really excites me because I liked what I saw. I liked this sort of exploration of villainy. I guess sort of being on the other side of it, there's more focus on heroes and that sort of thing. So I don't know, seeing the villain side of it was kind of cool to me, and I'd like to see more of that going forward for sure.
Aaron,
did you say me?
Yes, sir.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to echo a few things here. First of all, again, congratulations. A great video. I again don't think it's your best video. but I think it's good work. I'll go ahead and repeat some of the same things I said with Matt, and we'll get those out of the way because they're kind of a wash, which is I do feel like the freedom of the length handcuffed you as well. I think you played within it just a little bit too much. I did get a little bit bored a couple times. And I think that's just a matter of finding that sweet spot of including everything you need to include and doing it efficiently. And I think that could use a little bit of work there, just like I think Matt's could as well. Also, I have the same audio inconsistency issue with yours as well. The two different audio recording sources that goes back and forth, again, just a subtle thing. Now, as far as what I loved about this, first of all, again, you're hilarious. I think it is very funny. Your jokes land very, very well. We're used to that. Also, it's Pixar, so points for that. By the way, you both pandered very well this round with you doing Pixar and Matt doing Batman. I think that was, those were good choices. There are members on the panel who love those things very dearly.
Yeah, I mean, for a minute, look at our backgrounds. Like, look, Aaron's got the Pixar background. I'm in the Geek Evolution Batcave. Like, you guys, surely that was not by accident.
I get this feeling that if there was a third contestant for this round, there'd be a Mystery Science Theater.
That's right.
Probably so.
Right. Have you supported the Kickstarter yet, Manos? Have you?
I have no money whatsoever.
That's right. I'll support it for you.
Thank you.
Even though I have no money either. Okay, so basically, that's a double-edged sword, though, right, Cap? When you review something somebody loves, they're going to be more in tune with maybe the details of it, and so there are some of those things, that I will see in a Pixar movie. We had this a little bit when somebody reviewed a Hitchcock movie. I'm a huge Hitchcock fan as well, and so there's a deeper level of difficulty level when you do something.
Well, that's why I made everybody do Star Trek that one round, because I knew 5 on the panel were really intimately, familiar with that, and they'd have to really know their stuff to,
Yeah. The one thing I was really excited about was that the space did allow was you got to play in your universe a little bit more, and man, when you're doing that, you excel. Like the universe you have created for your world and your videos, I think really works. And that's evident here because you're given a little more space to play with that. I also really want to see this series, and that's a big thing because that's what we're doing here in this round is taking a series from pilot to series, and I really did feel like this was something I would enjoy seeing what you would do with villains in other movies. Having said all that. I have a pretty big con here with what you decided to do with the content of the review. I think you trapped yourself in, and this has kind of been echoed already by the first couple of judges, in a format that didn't actually fit these movies. The primary villain, secondary villain, and the false villain, I think it felt like, especially during the second two, that you were really trying to force the movies into a construct that you had wanted to create. And I saw it in some inconsistencies with, at first, when you're listing the villains, you list Al as the villain, when you just list the 3 of them at the beginning. And then as soon as you go into that movie, you immediately switch to listing the primary villain as Stinky Pete, which is fine. It's going to be one of them, but there's a little bit of an inconsistency there. And I would echo the thing about the incinerator. That's a really interesting choice, and it could be an intellectual one. But it was weird because you never even definitively said which it was. You said they could be, swapped, and so it didn't really fit your theory. But you wanted it in there to make a comment about it. When I watch these movies, the overarching themes are really clear to me. The first one is about purpose, and the villain, is somebody who is stealing purpose. He is destroying things that are supposed to be played with. It is the opposite of their purpose. The second movie is about preservation or immortality, and so the villain in that is pursuing immortality at the expense of actually living in the moment. And the third thematically is about power. It's about having power taken from you and therefore trying to take power from everybody else. And you see that not just in the villains, but you also see that in Andy giving the power over his toys to this other girl at the end of the movie. The big, finale is that he gives up that power to keep what was his. You see that in their comeuppance, which you mentioned a little bit, as a way that those villains are different. In that Lotso is tied to the front of the truck, powerless as could be. He has lost all power to do anything. He's completely tied up. Whereas Stinky Pete is the opposite of immortality. He is given to a kid to, you know, play with and destroy. He is as out of the box as he could ever be. He's no longer a mint in box toy. So, you know, I think thematically those movies play so consistently to me that to compare the villains of the second two movies so closely, I think to say that especially they were a repeat was a little bit short-sighted and not really kind of digging into the overarching themes of what they were. So having said that, that's content stuff and is probably the one of the sole issues I had with that stuff, but it's a big one for me because I think it steals a little bit of the validity for me of what you're saying about these movies. The only other thing is I'm not exactly sure what you're reviewing. Is it the effectiveness of the villainy? Is it you know, how entertaining the villains were? I could have used a little more clarity on what your criteria for a good villain would be, so I can see how that fits, you know, what you're saying in these movies. And I could have used a little bit more of that. That's about all I had to say.
Aaron, thank you for that quick breakdown of analysis of the themes of the Toy Story movies, because I think we needed that. And you hit on a whole bunch of things I wanted to talk about. I'll go ahead and talk now a bit. Yeah, I'll jump off of a number of things that Aaron said by starting with the end of that, which is when we get to the score at the end, I don't know what percentage of villainy means, and that's kind of the same problem Aaron's got, I think. But what I wanted to mention also that the score when we say, you know, percentage of villainy, I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like, is that, like Aaron said, is that a percentage of effectiveness in the villainy, or just that there's more villainness happening in one over the other? I mean, it seems like, I think it is supposed to be effectiveness because the way, but I have to look at the scores to understand that, because when you look at Lotso, his is the lowest score. I think he was like an 87, and the other two were above 90, and so that's because you said that you thought that he was just right at the last villain. So like I sort of kind of get what that's supposed to be, but yeah, I think that the subject of the review is a little bit too vague, and this is a huge risk you take when you don't just review a thing. And this has been a thing that we've dealt with a number of times in this competition, and has been kind of a problem for the judges panel with different people, where you'll have a subject, you'll have a topic, almost like you're writing a paper about a thing, but it becomes really murky. And is it really review? What is it that we're reviewing? Now, I feel like this does that better than a couple other things we've seen in time past, where somebody ended up kind of just picking a theme or a topic about multiple movies or multiple something, and then kind of running with it. So you at least say, okay, I'm gonna review the villains of the movies, and you do break them down, and I think there's some really good analysis here, regardless of the fact that I also agree with Aaron that some of your, I question some of your premises, but you did say some things that I think are valid. Importantly, I should always say that it doesn't matter if I agreed with you so much as if you said things that simply just don't feel, you know, like valid or factually there. You're missing some stuff that's in there. I think Aaron is kind of right about that. I definitely question the choice of calling the landfill thing at the end a villain. Like, I almost feel like you have to define villainy. Like, you started swaying me a little bit when you get to because when you first said it, I was like, that's a stretch, and then you get there at the end, and you start talking about how how there's like an idea that's the big conflict throughout all the movies, but conflict and villain, not the same thing. I mean, a villain needs a motivation, and villains are, you know, usually people. So to have just a big fire pit and call that a villain, I have a tough time with that. Again, I feel like you have to kind of define that, because what you're basically just saying is you're basically just pointing things that is a hurdle for your protagonist to get what they want. You're calling that I think that's a little bit problematic. But I do think that you got more done in the 15 minutes Matt did, and I think you used your time wisely for the most part. I liked how thorough it was. I like that you that you went through everything. I was really surprised that by the end when you brought up the specials and stuff. That was that you touched on that stuff. This is better as just an examination of a thing, I think, than it is as a review. But where I'm really going back and forth on it is, in a lot of ways, I think it is your best review, even though I can't decide if you're being. Well, I think I have decided you're too vague about the subject. But I do think in a lot of ways it is your best review, because one of the issues we've had with you all the way along is that you tend to do a lot of summary. And you'll just kind of be describing things, and you're so entertaining, and the way you describe things is so detailed and amusing that it's easy to not notice when you're not being critical enough. And you were very critical in this review, even if there are things about it that I'm not totally buying into. I thought that this was kind of your most critical video, and I really appreciated that from you. And it was really nice just to see some analysis and not so much surface stuff. You know, for better or worse, you really tried to get into the nitty-gritty of what these characters were about. And I thought you had some of your ideas were really good and things that I hadn't necessarily thought of before. The framing device, I will echo. I think it was Lance who said that that the whole premise for the series is brilliant. I think it's brilliant. One thing that nobody's mentioned yet, and I don't know if you guys have noticed this, is that all the story stuff that he's doing for his universe is. I mean, he's playing this as like an interdimensional crossover with Geekvolution, which is just so much fun for me. What is consistent with everything he's done before. This guy has a really good sense of continuity for his universe. It's all in his head. He never contradicts anything. Like, everything that's happened before that you've seen all matches up. And what I couldn't believe was that he brings back the antagonist, who shows up. I don't know if you guys remember this. At the end of the audition video, like he said, like, this feels like something he's had planned all along, because the antagonist guy shows up at the end, and he's talking about some of the same stuff, and then he shows up here, and I'm like, it's almost like if he was going to make it all the way, this was the big treat that he was building up to, and he's got even plans after that. Although, if he doesn't end up getting to go to series, I don't know how he keeps that consistent on his own channel, because now the antagonist is supposed to kill, which means that he's going to have to either not to happen, or he's going to have to die and be resurrected, like all comic booky. So he's maybe dug himself a narrative hole there. But the narrative framework stuff is so much fun. I really appreciate all the references to Geekvolution and to the contest. Again, that's stuff that I feel like you can get away with this in a way that's harder with the rest of it, because with the rest of the show, because you kind of want people to just be able to come in and watch it and not think, oh, it's part of a contest. The whole point of this was to be pitched for our channel, so the inside jokes are totally fair. I couldn't believe that you referenced the monkey. That totally got me. I lost it when you did that. That was really cool. And then he's still got that board in the background. I didn't get a good look at it before. He has pictures or icons of every single contestant that has ever been in Who Reviews the Reviewers. Like, that's the attention to detail. Like, I noticed Steve O'Cube, his cube thing was in there, and I started pointing out, oh, there's Laser Dude over there. Like, I wanted to pause that and just look at it all. It was really cool that he did that. And again, that was really fun for me, because I'm like, wow, 4 seasons of this, we've seen a lot of people on the show. Because I was like, surely they can't all be viewers. And then I started doing the reviewers started doing the math, and I'm like, no, that's how many we've had, and super fun for me, and didn't get in the way, even though you had more room and you did more of it, especially because with the framework, you took that whole primary, secondary, false villain thing, or the primary, secondary villain thing, and then actually made it part of your story framework. So, like, putting all that stuff together, it feels really coherent. Not coherent. It feels like it's one big package, and I thought that was super, super cool. So anyway, let's hear from Manos real quick. Go ahead, Manos.
Okay. I'm not sure if I have anything else from what all you guys have explored here, but I'll just run a few. Yeah, I'll just run a few things. Of course, the humor and analysis I thought were just spot on with this one. That's one of the things I like so much about your videos is you're so balanced and so thoughtful, and the humor is just so great. The thing that got me like immediately was when MrGoodPlot is brought in to the case, and you see he had just like had this other robot like laying down. I assume they were in a fight, and then he says, "I'll see you later, honey," or something. It's like, oh God, that had me laughing. That was extremely funny. Let's see, and of course, bringing back the adversary is like a great move. And I was hoping you would do that, and either if you had gotten booted off earlier, or if you had gone all the way to the last episode, that you would bring it home. And I'm glad. I was really happy that you did. And of course, I really dug the whole primary, secondary, false villain analysis. I love that kind of exploration of villains, and I like that. I do see this as a review series, except you're just cutting away everything from a franchise except for the villain and concentrating on that, which I think is a clever idea. And I like the whole analysis of what, because we often see more than one villain in a lot of stories, either film, especially films or TV shows or comic books or what have you. And I like the way you kind of broke it down. Yeah, there's Death's Head too, right there from Marvel. And are you still there? Okay, good. But I want to take a small issue with Aaron, who I think Aaron, you were right on the money talking about the themes of the first two Toy Story films. I think you're exactly right. I will disagree. I've never ever considered Toy Story 3 about power, even as a main theme. I've always considered it about change or death, or because what we see there is characters growing older and characters facing mortality. And what I think, I agree with bringing in the Pit as a villain, even if you can't really define it because it's not really it's not a sentient being or creature. But looking at it as a villain, as a concept, I think was fascinating. And I think I've seen other people kind of like dig around that concept, because you know what, when you think about it, the fire pit represents what they have been afraid of the entire film series, is being thrown away. What happens when you get thrown away, or what happens when you're destroyed, what happens when you're thrown in the junk pile, is the fire pit. And at the end of that film series, they face down the main. You could argue that the fire pit might even be the main villain of the series. So I agree with using that. It might be a little vague as to, it might be a little confusing as to how to qualify that, because you are talking about a villain as more of a concept than a character. But I like that you went that way. As far as like analyzing, I wasn't totally confused by maybe the rating system so much. Like I felt like Lotso wasn't as strong a villain in his film, so his rating isn't as high. I don't know what qualifies as a bad rating, because it's 1 to 100. But yeah, I didn't feel too confused by that. All in all, I would be interested to see if you were to go on with this series either on Geekvolution or your own channel, where you would go with maybe the tropes of villainy. I'm not sure where you're planning to take it in that case. Specifically inside of your own story arc that you're doing, I'd love to see where you're taking that. So I assume, I don't know. I have no idea what you're planning to do with the series. If you're going to continue that villain character after you're done with the series, or if this is a story you've been building up to. So I'm curious about that.
Well, I'll tell you, there's something really ominous about that ending, and there's a part of me that feels like I almost have like a duty to my own safety to vote against GoodPlot this time. But there's this thing at the end that's like, what you have to do when we invade Geekvolution, and I'm like, oh God, what's gonna happen?
Well, oh, you know what? I forgot to mention. I forgot to mention. I just forgot to mention like the music because most of the music we've heard him use the music before of the the kind of humorous, fun music. Then when he switches to talking about the fire pit, that music gets very dark and ominous and creepy. And it's definitely a nice effect when it happens. But if you go with him, you're inviting this villain who might cause us harm.
Yeah, and I've already got one of those to deal with, man. I don't know that I need any more. All right, well, we're gonna go ahead and move on to here pretty soon to Top Banana, and of course, no vote off this time because Top Banana will tell us who's being voted off, and so we're gonna pick instead of who's leaving, we're gonna pick each of the judges is going to decide which of these pilots should go to series. But before that happens, I want to make sure to open you, Matt, and to GoodPlot each just for a couple minutes and let them respond to, talk about anything they want to. Usually in this kind of setting, I wouldn't let the person that you're talking about explain things or anything like that. But there are some stakes here, and I want these guys to get to say their piece a little bit if there's anything they want to say. So let's go ahead and start with Matt. And Matt, just for a couple minutes, you're welcome to talk about anything you want to. Anything we said about your video, you're welcome to, if you think it would help you to have a better chance. You're welcome to criticize things about your competitor's video. Anything about Go ahead, Matt.
Oh boy. I guess I'll start.
Put you on the spot.
I guess I'll start by addressing some of the criticisms at me. I'll start off by saying, full disclosure, I did not watch all of Spawn Year, and it's been a long time. I did not pick that music because it was Spawn Year. I picked it because it sounded reminiscent of Batman.
Okay.
And I did those title cards because I thought if it was going to be a series, I wanted it to have consistent structure, and I used that font because it was the Batman animated series font. So those were the motivations behind those decisions. As far as visual and audio quality go, yes, I don't have much of an excuse over that other than to say normally I would obviously record the voiceover and the on-camera stuff from the same source. Extenuating circumstances just made it difficult to do that. That's still obviously a flaw, but yeah, I do recognize that was a problem. Same thing with the video quality. I didn't get to use the camera I typically use, so that was kind of an issue. So those are all flaws, but not flaws that I tried to avoid them as much as I could, but obviously. I don't know. The music is one of those things that I go back and forth a lot when I make my reviews as to what kind of music I want. During the beginning of the show, I used that consistent music in all my videos, and then after receiving some feedback from the judges, I decided to make the music match the review subject a little bit more. So maybe that didn't exactly work out for me this time, but that's what I was going for. As far as Steve's video goes, I kind of agree with a lot of what people said. I don't really like using the fire pit as a villain because it's not really a villain as much. It's like a vampire versus a zombie. One's a villain and one's kind of a force of nature. But I don't want to just sit here and criticize Steve's video because it was really good, and I don't want to be like that. I don't know. That's pretty much all I have to say, really. Yeah.
Okay, let's hear a little bit from GoodPlot. GoodPlot for a couple minutes. Anything you'd like to talk about before we put you guys in the chopping block? Go ahead.
Okay, well, I just wanted to clarify that this outfit I'm wearing was not meant to be worn for this long in a room without the fan on. I never realized that I have a lot of heavy clothing on right now. And it's not getting that cold yet where I am. So,
and see, we just think of you as like having been born with that on and getting up every morning already wearing.
Yeah, I want you to think that I wear this all the time, like even to bed. I'm like sleeping with this on, completely, and I'm like this in the shower. And But anyway, there was something I wanted to talk about earlier when we were doing the interview that I don't feel like I did justice in, and that was the question of did I think I would ever get this far? And I always imagine myself in this place, but I never really, I always wanted to be in this place where I'm at right now, live with you guys. But it was always like a dream that I wasn't sure would really be achieved. Like I remember the night of the previous season finale where you guys were live, and I thought, man, wouldn't it be something if I was there with those guys? And so when it was over and I was walking from the area that had internet, and I was walking back to my home, I was thinking, like, someday I'm going to be there. And then a random stranger, like, cursed at me, and I was like, oh, well, now my inspiration is gone. I'm never going to be there. But it turns out that he was wrong. I am here. So anyway, so this has basically been a dream come true, and I wish I was more vocal throughout this whole point than I've been. Hopefully the viewers know that we had to mute our mics while you were critiquing us, so hopefully they don't assume that we were just quiet the whole time. But anyway, that's not to say I was mad that I couldn't talk while you were critiquing me. I mean, like, while we were allowed to talk. Like, I felt like I could have said more when we were allowed to talk. But anyway, I think it's just because I'm just flabbergasted that I'm even here, like, speaking to you guys, and you're interacting back with me as I'm speaking to you. Like, this is really a surreal concept for me, instead of just being it through text. Anyway, so I guess I'll get a little bit about my review, just a little bit, since I spent all of this talking about that. But anyway, Aaron, when you were talking about how I introduced Al as the villain and then switched and said he was the secondary villain, what I believe I said with that was that he was the human villain. And then I said he was the secondary villain. I made it seem like he was kind of like with Sid, but he was like with Sid in that they're both human villains. And then I said that he was a secondary antagonist. But anyway, yes, I do agree that there are a lot of the themes that I might have been lost on, and yes, there might have been a few times where I did want to stretch it into that formula that I created, the trifecta of villainy. And however, as I was thinking about it, I thought, if I thought about it in a particular way, they do sort of fall into those, categories. But I do still agree that there were some that were still a stretch. But I think I side with Manos about the fire pit thing, because it is sort of the be-all, end-all threat, and I know that's not the same thing as villainy, but it is probably the thing that that everything was setting up to in that franchise. I thought that and I thought I should at least acknowledge it in some way, even if it might have not been the way that was most appropriate. But that's just how I felt that I should have seen, or at least that's how I wanted to be seen. And I just realized now that I can see my reflection on Captain Logan's door to his cabinet. I can see my reflection on his cabinet of DVDs. I just realized that. Oh, that good. That means I'm not a vampire. But anyway, now I can't stop looking at it. So, I think I have ADD. I just talk about whatever comes to my mind. I think that's it. And now one thing from Mr. Goodbot. Only in America. Only in America. 2 reviewers go in, 1 goes out. There. That's his input on the situation at hand.
Oh my God. I don't know how to keep myself together right now. So first of all, before we move on, let me say that it is super cool, good pod. to hear you say that this is a thing that you always hope would happen, and really kind of humbles me that a thing I came up with years ago is a thing that somebody's been aspiring for a long time to get to be involved in and get this far. And that's really cool to me. So I'm glad that you had such a good time. And you guys have done an amazing job, and I love your stuff. And I hope both of you guys will come on the channel and do stuff with us. We'd really love to use you guys as co-hosts for things. So just so you know, whether or not you get all the way to the end, you get the $500 prize, and you get to go to the chocolate factory. Whether that's for you, Ben. Whether you get to do any of that stuff, you're certainly welcome to come back and be on the channel. You guys have been amazing. You guys are really good, really great reviewers. And now we're gonna go ahead and decide which pilot goes to series and crown it. Do we have a volunteer in the judges panel for who would like to go first and cast the first vote? I'm hearing crickets. There are crickets. Okay, that means that I'm going to pick someone, and that person is going to be the real Manos.
All right. Well, I don't have the cigars. I don't have a cigar here, so let's see. So I'll just use this thing here. Hey, you got something there, kid. Both of you put on some pretty good shows there. Pretty good pitches there. See. I'm going to go with my choice. My pick is going to be the MrGoodPlot show. I think you need to change it to the MrGoodPlot show. You know, really seduce those folks. You know, get out there in the Midwest, you know, so they can get it. How are they supposed to know what show it is, unless it's called that? Also, Mary Tyler Moore needs to be a neighbor.
Manos, I'm gonna give you your own show where you're a corporate executive. That's hilarious. Oh my God, we need a show where Manos does that just all the time. Okay, next up, Alex.
I'm gonna go with MrGoodPlot.
All right, let's hear from Lance Fusion.
Hi, I'm Lance Fusion. That's all I have to say.
Lance, you gotta put on, Lance, you gotta put on your executive phase. You gotta,
well, you see,
you gotta be one of the network execs now and choose a pilot.
Okay, I'll put on my brow of seriousness right now. Because I mean, apparently every board panel has to have an old-timey executive, and Manos has already filled that quota. So.
Well, you can be an executive from the '80s. I can. If you want to be an executive from the '80s, I can spare you some coke.
Wait, it's not new coke, is it?
No. It's a much better coke.
Okay. Jeez. You know, both of you guys are here right now, and that must be so pants-crappingly scary to have to be here live for this. Back in my day, we didn't have to be here live, and it was much more relaxed. Anyway, I'm stalling now.
Yeah, at least
because
have this music going in the background, you know?
Yeah, I'm stalling now, but as I said before, I was really excited about seeing this turn into a series. The possibilities are endless, so I'm going to have to vote for MrGoodPlot.
All right, MrGoodPlot. That's 3 already, so of course that clenches it. Aaron, what would your vote have been?
I actually, while we were doing this, was making a scorecard on different, criteria on how I might pick this, and they were like neck and neck tied or just barely ahead of each other all the way through. The thing that put it over for me was this is a reviewing competition, and when I think who is the better reviewer, I would pick Matt. So Matt would have been my choice.
Okay. And Aaron, I just went back and forth because of that. with the whole like pick a pilot and you know what's the show that I'd most like to see after just seeing the pilot, it's definitely Good Plot. And I think ultimately that would have been my vote. It doesn't matter now. That's fun. I love that it doesn't matter now. But yeah, I was also going to end up voting for Good Plot, despite some reservations in the reviewing area. But then, as I said earlier, Aaron, I still felt like this is the most critical he's been, and that like helped a lot for me. So I don't know. This was a super tough one. But anyway, so Good Plot. Congratulations, buddy. You made it, man. Wow.
Wow.
And I will say what I said before. I'm sure a lot of people don't know this. Good Plot. Mind me if tell me if I'm right about this. I'm going to say you have tried to enter the competition every single year.
Actually, just once. The previous season.
Come on! Okay. Well, I knew I'd at least seen one video from you. I was going to be like, nah, you're a liar. Okay, I thought you'd done it even before that.
No, it was once.
Okay.
It was way back when I had a really blurry camera and the robot didn't even exist in continuity yet. It was just a rabbit. He didn't add anything to it.
I mean, it was before that.
I don't think I did anything before that. It was just that once.
All right. Wow. I thought I saw you before that. Okay. Well, anyway. So anyway, but obviously, Good Plot. I guess my point is, Good Plot has tried to get into the competition before and wasn't even in the top 8, and this time was, and then made it all the way. So you do have Manos to thank for giving you the support that jumped you over the. But then, of course, we have loved you all the way through. Matt, I'm sorry you got the runner-up, buddy.
No, it's fine. I came in kind of expecting Good Plot to win, honestly. I love Good Plot stuff, and I know all the judges love it, and I am just really super thrilled to even be here live with all you guys that I've watched, because I kind of echo Good Plot a little bit with that, whereas I've been subscribed to Geekvolution since I was in high school, so just to be part of this whole internet YouTube community is super thrilling and super exciting, and the chance of getting exposure and being able to work with Geekvolution regardless of winning this competition or not is just really cool. So I've loved the contest. Really gave me motivation to get going on my stuff. And Good Plot, you rock. I'll keep watching your stuff because I love it and you make me laugh.
Matt, I know that Comics Kid got the shirtless salute, and I was thinking about giving you the pantsless salute, but I realized this was a kid show or family show, so instead I'm going to give you a different salute. Ah!
No. No, don't do it! Don't do it!
I regret that.
That was fantastic. Well, let me ask you guys a couple more things real quick before we finish up. I want to know what plans you guys have for your channels moving forward. Matt, are you going to keep making stuff? I mean, I'm assuming you are.
I absolutely am. All my reviews that I've done so far are being moved to a new channel, and that's where all my stuff is going to be uploaded. A co-host and I will be doing Let's Plays on that channel, and she is also going to be making her own videos, and we're really excited. I'm going to keep doing kind of what I'm doing, making silly, stupid videos about silly, stupid games, and occasionally silly, stupid videos about really good games. Like I said, doing Let's Plays and stuff. And we're hoping to maybe do a series on Archie, Sonic the Hedgehog stuff, because we are two of the biggest Sonic the Hedgehog fans you will ever meet, me and my co-host. So we've got that going. So we're really excited. And I think now that this contest is over, I can kind of sit back, really process everything, and then just kind of go at it fresh and ready to go.
Well, good. Yes, you're studying some videos for my channel now. There's a little bit of a backdoor thing here where it's like the winner gets to make videos for me, so I can take some time off. Good Plot. What are you planning on doing moving forward? I know you already have quite a bit of stuff that you're doing on your channel.
Yeah, I do constantly do stuff on my YouTube channel already, but I have noticed that the good plot stuff is the stuff that's the highest rated. So I am definitely going to continue, even after the 6th episode count, I believe, on your channel. I might have to binge some things, with the whole way that that's going to be framed, but it'll be sort of like a status quo change type thing, like you see every now and then on Lost, when they would the kind of status quo and contrive a way to still be consistent, still have them on the island, while at the same time doing other stuff. But anyway, yeah, I am. While I was doing this for the competition throughout this year, since we started like in January, I think, what I was planning on doing was I wasn't completely sure if I would continue, doing MrGoodPlot, but now even before I realized that this was potentially a thing for me to do this for you on your channel, I've decided, I am going to continue, and now that I've found something to latch on with the discussing villainy, I think I am going to continue that. It might not be a weekly thing per se, but it will be something I will try to do consistent, maybe like as a monthly thing, because there are things that I do on my channel that are weekly anyway. So the good plot thing would be something you would look forward to each month. Kind of thing.
Cool. Well, and you and I will talk, of course, about your series, but I mean, I'm not going to give you hard deadlines for that. You get those up whenever you can. But anyway, the other one to ask is, moving forward when we get to a season 5, what is the one biggest piece of advice that you guys would give anybody thinking right now about trying to get into the contest next time?
Don't necessarily. How do I even word this? When I did my audition, I wasn't sure if I was gonna get in. I was like, I probably won't even get in, so I probably shouldn't audition. Don't do that. Even if you don't make it in season 5, you might make it in season 6. Trying keep on doing what you want to do, and make sure you review whatever it is you're passionate about. Because I could have, done like superhero movies or something like that, or whatever. But I wanted to do video games, and that's what I want to do on my own channel. So just do whatever you're passionate about. Don't try to like pander too hard. Don't. I don't know. I got nothing. Just be yourself and have fun. And when I first started, I was super uncomfortable on camera and stuff like that, and it's been such a growing process. So come to the contest ready to learn, ready to grow, and ready to really. Go ahead, good plot.
Put you on the spot here.
Go ahead, good plot.
If there are this is a scenario for people who are already in the competition. If you are afraid that there are things about your review that might cost you, that might be what takes you, that brings you home, that you think that there are things that the judges might have problems with, keep in mind that there's always the chance that none of the judges will acknowledge those problems and instead acknowledge other problems that you did not think of at all. That's something to think about. And and if there's like something that a way you want to tackle how you do this, how you do your reviews that's different from how you're seeing everyone else do, don't be afraid to take that different way. Don't be afraid if the way you're doing it seems too weird or just doesn't really match what anyone else is thinking, because sometimes it's really great to stand out and be unique. I guess that's what I have to say.
Well, I feel like those pieces of advice really go hand in hand. Thanks for that, guy. Pieces of advice, English major. Those two things really go hand in hand. And thank you guys for saying that. It might sound like a sappy thing. It might sound like a cliche thing. And I mean this not just for the contest, but all. Anybody just trying to get into this and trying to build an audience, be yourself is such an important piece of advice. It's really neat that MrGoodPlot went all the way, because I will tell you right now, I was one of the naysayers at the beginning. I was one of the guys that said that gimmick will never fly. People are going to be like, that's goofy, that's silly. He's just trying to get attention, and they won't look at it. And I was completely, but we liked it. I mean, like I was completely wrong about that. And I mean, like, yeah, there's something to be said for, you know, you don't need a costume, you don't need the frills and stuff like that. But this GoodPlot just doing what he wants to do, just be himself, and it totally panned out. And I don't know that he would have gotten that far if he had tried to reserve that, bring it in. And as I'm sure most everybody watching, he's hilarious. He's like so much fun. That's because he's allowed himself to come out of his shell and not be afraid of that. So that's super.
Can I
important.
say something?
Absolutely.
I think it's interesting to me that GoodPlot got this far in the contest and won, obviously, because he just continued being himself, whereas I feel I kind of found my identity doing this contest. And I think that's worth saying for some reason.
Well, no, absolutely, because as you said, this is a thing that what we hope happens is that people really learn and grow and kind of come up with their solidify not just their foreign, their online persona. And you know, Matt, you and I were joking about this earlier today, you know, texting back and forth. That when I said no, you should come in character too. We all to some degree kind of have, you know, our online personas, our online characters.
Well, I have to
again, most of us don't go as far as GoodPlot.
Right away.
I'm sorry. What? Bye.
You gotta go get him. Come back here. There, I got him.
Mr. Goodhoppin's trying to overthrow him.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, everybody, that is season 4 of Who Reviews the Reviewers, and I want to thank my judges as always for being here with me, and thank you guys for the long 2-3 hour nights we've had. This has been such a great year. I've really enjoyed the panel that we've had this year. It's been a really good dynamic. Was the word I could not think of, because it's hot in this room too, and I'm not even wearing all that stuff that GoodPlot's wearing. But anyway, any judges, any final words you guys have for this year? I know I've been talking a lot and letting these guys talk. Anything you guys want to say about how things have gone, or anything about the future? Anything? Jump on in.
It's great to be a judge in a show where there are no wrong answers, and that's how I feel about the winner. There wasn't going to be a wrong answer, and that goes from, you know, the beginning to now. There's just a lot of quality talent, and I love being part of something where you feel like you're honoring, no matter who leaves, no matter who goes on, that you're honoring somebody worth honoring. So I thought it was great.
Man, like, say anything.
Hold on. Yeah, I was really excited by this group of contestants this year. I think this is one of our stronger seasons. God, I mean, the last few episodes were just really difficult. Really, I mean, it got very close to the beginning of the season. It just got a matter of just finding the least best one, rather than one that had, you know, too many problems. And everybody should be, you know, even people who didn't come to the last episode should be really proud of the work they did. They did some excellent work, and the two of you, I was just very impressed with your videos. Both Matt and the doctor there.
Oh no! Oh God! It's the antagonist. The antagonist is here.
Oh my God! I'll sign off. Both you guys did some fantastic work, and you know, just makes me kind of look at my own work and thinking, you know, I should reevaluate, you know, the crap I do.
This is terrible. I just feel like you made the wrong decision, you guys. Like, you guys are gonna feel bad when something happens to me. That's all I'm saying.
I think they feel bad.
Alex, do you have anything you'd like to say?
I don't have too much. It's been an incredible season. Both you guys have just been utterly, utterly fantastic and impressive, and I feel totally ashamed I can't produce stuff that's that good. So, you should be very proud of yourselves.
Whatever, Alex. You know you're a genius. You just stop then. And Lance, anything you want to say?
I think just to jump off where what Justin has said before, it is almost, especially in a reality show dynamic, it's kind of weird not to to be faced with picking the least good or the least not bad kind of thing. Yeah, there really hasn't been that much of a oh no, this is a terrible video and this is what's creating the drama kind of thing. It's so many strong, so many interesting things, so many very unique styles of contestants this year that it just became so difficult to ever vote anybody off. We just had to just find that one little nitpicky thing just to get rid of it. So it's really just been a joy to see everybody just put out such a fascinating work to watch. It's been so much fun.
Well, I know I speak for all the judges when I say that we all have so much fun getting together and doing this. And part of the reason that the deliberations go on as long as they do is just because we're all friends. We have so much fun having the excuse to get together and talk about you guys behind your back when then you guys get to actually listen to what we said. Anyway, well, everybody, thanks again for watching. If you guys were with us all the way through live, really cool of you to take some time out of your evening and spend it with us. And thanks again to my whole judges panel and to the contestants, and thanks to all the contestants that were with us all year and for all your hard work. And it was a really good year. I'm Captain Logan, and this was The Real Manos.
Goodbye, everybody.
Superhero enthusiast.
So long.
Aaron Dicer.
Bye-bye.
Bye. And Lance Fusion.
Keeping it classy.
And I'm Captain Logan saying goodnight. Good night.